Welcome back to the Automation Podcast. My name is Shawn from Insights in Automation. And this week on the show, I meet up with Andre Ristaino from ISA to learn all about ISASecure. Now, before we get into that, I have two announcements. First, I do want to thank the automationschool.com for sponsoring this episode of the show. They paid for our production costs, so they made this episode possible. And so if you know anybody looking for PLC, HMI, or SCADA training, please mention the automationschool.com to them. With that said, I also want to let you know that even though I'm on vacation next week, I still have some content planned for you. So let's talk about the next episode of the Automation Podcast first. So next week, what I did is I re-edited my Trends in Industrial Automation session from the Siemens Symposium that I did last month. And so I'm going to release that on all platforms next Wednesday at the regular time. In addition to that, I have something very exciting to announce. I decided to run our first ever Audience Choice Award polls. So what does that mean? So starting this Friday, right, the 22nd, you will see a new poll each day except for Christmas at theautomationblog.com running through the following Friday. And what these polls are going to do is they're going to ask you who your favorite vendors are and what your favorite products are. And I think this will be a lot of fun, especially since I'm on vacation. It'll give you guys something to do. And it really is going to help me as I look at what I want to focus on in 2024 to know what you guys, the people who are actually watching or listening to the shows or coming to the Automation blog, to know what your interest is. So please, if you get a chance over the coming days, please visit theautomationblog.com and vote in our daily Audience Choice Award polls. It would mean a lot to me, and I really want to just say ahead of time, thank you all for voting. Now, voting does close January 1st. So if you get there the last day of December and you want to vote in all the polls all at once, you can do that. But please don't wait, because I want to get as much feedback as possible. I know thousands of you listen or watch the show every week, and I would like to get all of you who can get there to come up and vote, so I know really what you guys are interested in and what you would like to see in 2024. So with all that said, that's the end of the announcements. Let's go ahead and learn all about ISASecure in this week's episode. Andre, thank you for coming on the Automation Podcast. I'm looking forward to learning all about ISASecure, especially the certification we're going to talk about today. But before we jump into that, could you first introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. I'm Andre Ristaino. I work at the International Society of Automation. We're a professional engineering society with about 15,000 members globally. I'm staff director of conformity assessment programs and consortia. So I oversee the development and expansion of conformity assessment programs, and as new groups are interested in forming purpose or mission-oriented consortia, I also stand those up. So my background is business degree and then an applied computing degree. I worked at various organizations, including Deloitte and Touche. I was there 10 years in their advanced manufacturing technology group, and worked in several startups, including companies that were doing manufacturing consulting and putting in ERP systems.
Excellent. And what are we going to talk about today?
So today, I'm going to talk about an expansion of the assessment and certification schemes offered by ISA under the ISASecure brand. So ISA is the home of the 62443 standards. These standards were started in 2002, right after the 9/11 events. Some thought-leading engineers recognized that our critical infrastructure and some hazardous operations like oil refineries and pipelines, et cetera, if the control systems that manage these large assets were compromised, it could create process upsets and have a negative effect on health, safety, and the environment. Oil spills, gas spills, water processing plants that aren't able to produce water, and building automation. If you turn off the life safety systems, the buildings can't be occupied, and more. So these standards, there's 15 sections to them, and they continue to evolve and grow. but they're the only set of purpose-built standards for cyber physical systems, or otherwise known as operational technology. And they provide a foundation for securing products and systems that are used in our everyday lives. And they also provide the framework for elevating OT cybersecurity from an art to a science to an engineering discipline. We work collaboratively with a lot of other organizations, including government organizations like Idaho National Labs, DOE, and other organizations. So, I'll talk about the mission of this program, and I'll talk a little bit more about what else ISA is doing. But for this program, like I said, we've been certifying products and systems and the developers of commercial off-the-shelf automation and control systems. And we've been doing this since 2010, 2011, and it's a successful program. We think it's a gold standard for doing certifications for the off-the-shelf products. It's a who's who of tier one suppliers and critical infrastructure automation suppliers who are on our list of certified organizations. We certify their development processes in addition to certifying the products themselves. So it's a well-recognized, well-respected program. But our expansion is to now look at the asset owner operators. So the power generation and distribution, water and wastewater facilities, the oil refineries, pipelines. So where these control systems are deployed to run these operations, there is a set of standards as part of this overall set of standards that address those operations specifically. And that's what we're going to build: the assessment specification and a standardized report for this series of standards.
Hey everybody, just wanted to jump in here really quick and thank our sponsor, theautomationschool.com, for covering all of our production costs this week. If you know anybody looking for PLC HMI or SCADA training, please mention theautomationschool.com to them. And with that, let's jump back into the show.
Our vision is to have this specification become the de facto reference document for any organization that's seeking to secure their operational technology, whatever industry. And we view it much like the generally accepted accounting procedures developed by the Financial Accounting Standards Board for financial accounting. So any company that runs today uses accounting, and whether you're a mom and pop shop running QuickBooks, you use GAAP standards. If you're a Fortune 500 company that has independent auditors and you're traded on the stock exchange, you use GAAP standards, but you also have a regulatory requirement to have your financials audited to confirm that you're following the GAAP standards. So the 62443 standards for the asset owners, they exist today, and we want to bridge that gap between the published standards and build a set of consensus specifications for doing the assessments, and have standardized report formats, and then that can be the basis for going forward.
I think it's exciting because we've been seeing in our morning daily news show how products are starting to get ISASecure certification and how developers are starting to get ISASecure certification. But I think it's exciting to see that the actual asset owners are going to be able to get their system certified, because a lot of them, they need somebody to come in and tell them, hey, this is good. What you have is good and it's secure, or no, you get some real holes here and you need to take a look at. So go ahead. I'll turn it back to you.
No, that's fine. So you're right. So for the asset owners, it's a long journey. It's not like you do an assessment of your systems and then tomorrow you start changing your systems so they align with the standards. It takes years. And so we're building an assessment scheme that can be used internally by the asset owners as a basis for establishing their cybersecurity scheme for their production environment. And so I think initially we won't see a high demand for the actual certification of these systems to the standards, but more consultancies. We're getting a lot of interest from engineering firms and major consultancies to do this work in a standardized way. They're already helping out companies and doing some great work and doing assessments and providing input on their existing technology, where they're deficient, and how to invest to improve them. But every project's a little bit different. The reports that they render to their clients are different. If you had one consultancy do a project, at location A, and a different consultancy is helping the same company at location B, if they don't have a standardized assessment to set of standards, they're all going to be different. So how do they roll it up and get a corporate view of their problem, and how do they then track progress? So that's the whole point of this: is it standardized? We have standards, they're published, and they're useful. And we need the specifications that describe what the process and methodology and tools are, and then the standardized report formats. So all this is important for a couple of reasons. One is to get the standard out there, but sooner or later you have to graduate from the primordial ooze of spreadsheet and into the modern world. So there are a number of companies that already exist that are publishing conformance software, compliance software. And so we'll license our specification to those organizations, and they can put it in their software programs to help institutionalize these specifications. And we'll do the maintenance on them and provide them the updates, et cetera. But companies that are big companies are using these software applications to help with their assessments and to identify projects and budgeting, et cetera. And so it's not a one-time shot. These are multi-year programs that are ongoing, just like any other maintenance program. And so, that's our vision on this thing. So why ISA and why ISASecure? Well, we have a proven track record already for the product certification in this spot. We're a global automation engineering society. We have access to a large stable of some of the world's best subject matter experts, and in particular, access to the world's best cybersecurity experts in OT. They're rare. And in addition to that, we have a world-class training group at ISA. Last year, we trained over 3,000 automation professionals in a variety of topics, from loop tuning to HMI standards to cybersecurity. And we also already have leading asset owners and automation suppliers that are on board, and they've seen us perform. We've got a good track record and have their confidence and support. So today we're pivoting from the automation suppliers and certifying their products to the asset owners. So our discussions are with the consultancies predominantly and with the asset owners. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback about this program. So just, a couple things that we've been doing that have benefited our society in general and some specific communities. I've talked about the ISASecure program. Our mission is to do conformity assessment programs. We're doing it to products now. We're going to do conformity assessment at the asset owner operating sites. We've been the hosting organization for a oil and gas industry research program. Historically, we've run this for about 18 years. The oil majors put money into a fund, and they identify projects to identify vulnerabilities in automation used in the oil and gas industry. In the past, we received matching funds from the U.S. government, the DHS Science and Technology Directorate, and they provided resources to help with this. They thought it was beneficial because the same technology that's used in oil and gas, embedded devices, sensors, actuators, software systems, control systems, they're used in many other industries. So they end up getting a twofer for them, if you will, or a threefer or more. And in 2019, we stood up this organization called the ISA Global Cybersecurity Alliance. And this was inspired by a few of thought-leading organizations who called out the fact that most industrial sites, most sites that are using operational technology, use a wide variety of technology from a wide variety of suppliers. So if you went to a production site that had Siemens products at it, you're going to find Schneider Electric, you're going to find ABB, Honeywell, so all of them. So the consensus was that securing these systems wasn't a single vendor problem. It was an interdisciplinary problem and an inter-vendor problem. So this organization was stood up to bridge the gap between the published standards and marketplace adoption for the standards and the best practices that are called out by the standards. And so it's an initiative also to help lead a cybersecurity culture transformation. So we're doing white papers. We've developed many training modules. We've developed training that was donated to the ISA training department. And then one of the other things that was a gap in the marketplace was.
Hey guys, I just wanted to break in here with a message from our sponsor, theautomationschool.com. Over there, we're currently filming all of our new Ultimate courses, and these are our 2023-2024 updates to all of our Allen Bradley PLC courses: Control Logics, Compact Logics, Micro 800, Micro Logics, Slick 500 PLC 5. And currently, if you buy, let's say, Control Logics, the current course, you will get this new course completely free. Same is true with Compact Logics and Micro 800 and Micro Logics. Now, the Slick 500 and PLC 5 courses are brand new, and they are available for pre-order as well. So if you're interested in any of this, please check out theautomationschool.com, and you can contact me there using the link, or you can leave me a voicemail. And with that, let's go ahead and jump back into the show.
Incident command system. So when there's an industrial control cyber incident, you might see DHS or CISA called up, or INL, but it's not that well organized. There's playbooks for the electric sector, but not much else. And so, the balance of the world needed something. So we worked with FEMA and CISA, and we stood up a new program for incident command for industrial control systems. So now, if there's an incident in a control system that's cyber related, we can help them with playbooks on putting resources on these problems. So it's entirely free. We're funding it, all of it. We have a program manager. We have about 1,400 participants, and so we're credentialing incident commanders. We did 4 last year. 4 this year. They take training from FEMA and other places. We're developing incident commander profiles, personnel profiles, and we're working our way down the incident response team work chart and developing profiles and training and credentialing for each of the folks that are specific to industrial control systems. So this is unique. So also ISA is where the ISA 99 committee, we're a standards accredited standards development organization. This is where the 62443 standards are published. They're submitted to ANSI to become a North American ANSI standard, and also to the IEC as an IEC standard. All the technical work's done here at ISA through a global committee of over 1,000 participants from a variety of industries and a variety of countries. And So they're published here and then internationalized. And I already talked about the education and training. So that's a profile. We're busy in a lot of different places. I'm on an industry advisory board with the Department of Energy for securing the solar connection to the grid. We have other folks that are on other committees. We're also collaborating with the North American Transmission Forum on their supplier sharing calls, providing advice and input on how to secure and certify products. So back to the ISASecure programs. So you can see these are our members. There's about 40 of them. We have certification bodies as members, major asset owners, major technology providers, Honeywell, Schneider, et cetera. You notice that there's a footprint developing in the building automation system. So Train Technologies, Carrier, Johnson Controls. These are some of the Eaton. These are some of the biggest suppliers of industrial HVAC and building controls, you name it, going down the line, other organizations into elevators. So it's a well-supported program. You notice Amazon Web Services, they've come on board in December of 2022. Last year, we launched a industrial IoT certification for IoT components and gateways. We're just finishing up a joint report with the ISA Global Cybersecurity Alliance that evaluated the applicability of 62443 standards for IoT solutions, which are IoT devices that are talking to some type of a function or an application in the cloud. And so obviously Amazon Web Services is a big player in that. We're seeking to recruit some of the other big ones like Microsoft Azure and partner with organizations like the Cloud Security Alliance to establish a set of standards and a security profile for certifying applications that have a cloud provider component.
I think that's so important because I know so many plants where maybe it's not the electrical engineer, but somebody else in the plant is installing some IIoT devices. And if these devices have a backdoor or a security hole in them, which if they're not certified by somebody, they very well could be, because there's so many new providers out there of these edge devices that they could get it could be a backdoor into the plant. So it's so important, and I'm glad you guys are working on that too. That's excellent.
Yeah. So the space is evolving. Amazon themselves have now they're producing sensor devices. They want to get into the sensor business. I think they like to be in the data business, but the sensors just provide data that go up to their cloud applications for analytics. So pretty much every building in the US, if it has an HVAC system, it's likely connected to a cloud solution. And so it's important to address that. But we felt like because, we're automation engineers and we wrote the standards for securing, these cyber physical systems, that it made sense for us to have a role in evaluating how to secure and certify these systems that are connected. So there isn't a section of the standards that specifically addresses cloud providers. There's a working group 9, working on that, the industrial IoT. What we're learning, we donate to the standards committee, but this cloud connected thing came up faster than we could stand up a standards group. So other organizations interested in what we're doing is insurance companies. So FM Global, which is they insure production assets and other assets, buildings, etc. They have a certification subsidiary, FM Approvals, who do the evaluation of the production assets and other types of assets to ascertain insurability. And so they're now a certification body for us in our program. And what we're working on, it's, industry consensus standards or global standards. So it provides a good foundation for one dimension of their underwriting process. And so I think what we'll see in the next few years is an announcement from them that, they're requiring some of these ISASecure certifications as a prerequisite to get either insured or get reduced insurance rates. So the insurance organizations are taking note. So the certification assessment and certification scheme, we're still struggling with the name. What we're actually assessing are what in the standard are known as industrial automation and control systems. That's a mouthful. I like to drop the word industrial from that and call it an automation and control systems, because these control systems aren't always in an industrial environment. Look at building automation. So that's in buildings. There's others that are not in production environments per se, water, wastewater, and electrical transmission and distribution. In a production environment, typically you would visualize, the power generation as the industrial process. But at any rate, so that's what we call it, but it's personnel, hardware, software, and policies. And so, the policies and procedures, and an overall cybersecurity scheme for your production environment do have standards. And, I'll show it's a 2-1 standard. I'll talk about that a little bit more, but it overlaps in the absence of organization having like an ISO 27000 overall information system security management scheme. This duplicates it. If you have an ISO 27000 scheme at your company, for your enterprise systems, rather than try to bend and wang dangle that standard to address cyber physical systems, they just need to have an exit point and include the 62443 standards that are purpose built for that.
Hey everybody, just wanted to jump in here quick to let you know about my new show, The Automation Morning Show. It's a news show where I cover what's new and happening in industrial automation. We're already past 150 episodes for this year alone, and you can see all of the links of everything I cover over at automate.news. Now, how do you find The Automation Morning Show? It is on the same platforms as the Automation Podcast. So wherever you listen or watch the Automation Podcast is the same place you can find the Automation Morning Show. And with that, let's go ahead and jump back to this episode.
So we have a white paper. They do work in a complementary fashion. So we've just started work on this program earlier this year. We're recruiting new supporters for it. We're looking for visionary companies and thought leaders. There are a lot of companies who think we're doing the right thing. And their position is, well, we'll circle back, and when this thing is done, we're going to look at it and would probably use it, but we really don't want to be the folks that help construct this. So we're looking for companies who like to be on the front edge, companies that want to have a seat at the table in developing the program itself, the specifications, the policies, etc. And so this new assessment scheme is based on the asset owner series of standards. You can see at the bottom of this slide, there's 4 foundational standards for securing a production facility. We'll just say that for now. And there's 4 standards of security program requirements. That's like the ISO 27000 equivalent. It's like the overarching standard for how to apply it to a site. There's a 2-4 standard, 62443. That's for service providers. That addresses how you manage your maintenance service providers and the integration service providers. So typically when a new system's being deployed, you're going to use a system integrator, so it addresses those folks. The system integrators are typically using certified product, or hopefully certified product, and have a target security level they want to achieve at the production site, and they work towards that. And then there's a standard that describes a risk assessment and system design process. And then the 3-3 standard at the bottom is system requirements and security levels. So those are like the technical security requirements and the technical controls for the actual control systems and the cybersecurity and other security measures around those. So who would actually use our assessment specification and standardized report? Well, in the end, it's the asset owners. After all, we're trying to establish a standardized way to establish a security program, procedures at the owner-operator site. So we would license this to the asset owner-operators. They can have some of their personnel go to our training. It's a 3-day training class on how to use the specification, how to interpret the language in it. You know, if likely a lot of these companies have security personnel, but they haven't been exposed to these standards. So this provides a foundation on the standards themselves. And so, yeah, they would use them. You know, there's no specific requirement that says they have to use them writ large out of the box, but certainly it's going to be a lot more valuable than them trying to develop their own internally. So these are international standards. We're going to have international companies, you know, 40 to 60 companies weighing in on these. And so it's a good starting template. And then similarly, consultants who are doing assessment work and project planning for these companies, for the asset owners, they can use our specification. And you know, our model for that is they use the specification, and the asset owner licenses it. Each time they go to an asset owner, they pay a license fee on a site-by-site basis, and a maximum of 5, and we stop charging for them. So we license it site by site up to 5 sites, and that's the maximum they pay globally. It's all you can eat after that. And so who else would use these specifications? Well, certification bodies. So for those organizations that seem to have a need to have their cybersecurity target levels achieved, to have those things independently audited, like, you know, a CPA firm would independently audit a publicly traded company. Where there's a need for that, either for regulatory requirements or maybe an insurance company, there'll be certification bodies who will conduct conformity assessments and issue certificates of conformance confirming that, yes, this organization is meeting these target security levels for their production environment. So we think, you know, in the first year that may be a smaller part of the market, but we're building this scheme as an assessment and certification scheme. One of the things that we're looking at is providing a way for well-credentialed consulting organizations to do assessments and issue reports in the standard format, and have them properly credentialed such that those reports could be submittable to certification bodies for a certificate. So a big byproduct, and one of the objectives of this program is to create a model for public policy makers, regulatory and legislative authorities. So this set of standards is the best articulated set of standards for operational technology or cyber physical systems. And but recommending to the legislators or regulatory authorities that, yeah, you should use these. There's a big gap between those 4 standards that I identified on the prior slide and having a full operating auditing and assessment and certification scheme. So we're building it. It's something that we know how to do. We're building the training programs, and so it's a lot easier for the policymakers who aren't technical folks to visualize a program that's already constructed and in place than to visualize 4 PDFs of the standards and say, yeah, imagine, if you will, your world's going to look like this in the future, with these programs. It's a big chasm for them to get across. So what is it going to look like, the development process? So we've taken these 4 standards and we will divide it up into working groups and develop this monolithic document that has what I would call the core assessment specifications. There's 390 requirements in the standards. So it's a dirty, onerous job to put this together. A lot of, as I know some organizations have tried this and they've done it internally. They might have had an okay result, but we're going to have 40 to 60 companies weighing in on this with the world's most talented subject matter experts on OT cybersecurity and these standards. And so we think that our specification, the outcome, is going to be superior to what anybody else will put together. So there's that. And this set of specifications, once completed, can be repurposed, and we can do derivatives, for industry sector by industry sector application. So that would be like a phase 2. But get to this first phase where we've done all the requirements is an important step. And now we have something that we can repurpose. Frankly, I don't think, if we put this specification together, if you took it to an asset owner site, they may only look at 30 or 40 of the requirements as something that they want to really assess. It may be more, might be more heavyweight than they can take, or overkill for their use case. So for instance, if you're a small water processing facility for a 5,000 person city, you might have 1 or 2 PLCs, and there may only be 40 of these requirements that are applicable to them, and half of them deal with personnel policies and procedures and training. So, but the hard part, getting the dirty work done, this set of specifications is important, and then collaborating with the software suppliers and having them put these requirements into their systems so that they can do roll-up reports, dashboards, heat maps, spider diagrams, and the bar charts and things that you normally expect. And they can be used as a basis for annual reviews and audits, and they have a elegant way to assess their progress. So that's the assessment side of things. And then in terms of the actual certification part of it, when we have this specification completed, we can look at the profile of skill sets necessary to do the assessments based on what the requirements are. Some are going to be policies and procedures, others are going to be more technical. And we'll have an assessor company accreditation specification, so the credentialing requirements for the companies. They're going to issue certificates. We'll include in the specifications for the personnel credentialing, what their profile is. There may be like an auditor style and then another technical person. And so there'll be some credentialing there. We did that with our product certification program. So we can repurpose a lot of our program definition documents from the product side to this side. And then we will have, we'll use the specifications and build a 3-day training class for the auditors or the assessors. And those folks could be assessors for the certification bodies, or they could be the consultants who just want to, whose consultancy wants to be sure that their staff is using the specification properly and can guide their teams. And also useful for asset owners who want to build a security scheme at their operating site. And so, having a properly credentialed internal auditor go a long way towards, building a program. And the things that you learn in the class are useful for not just for doing the assessment, but for how to apply the standards to your operations.
Now I have a question, and I can definitely see that, you know, as time goes on, a few years down the road, these vendors and these software companies who are jumping on ISA Secure now are going to really benefit from it, because if I'm a end user asset manager and I decide to go through the certification, have my site and my process certified down the road, it's going to be easier if I can say, oh yeah, and that piece that touches the cloud is already ISA secure, right? But I guess on the flip side, at some point I can see them wanting, especially smaller facilities, right? Wanting only the higher solution providers or integrators who are ISA secure. Is that something you see, like looking way down the road? Is that at some point, once you get past the consultants, you get past the auditors, that you start looking at solution providers and integrators and saying, hey, how are we sure that when you go into that plant, you're not causing a backdoor into their system?
So that's right. So if you look at these standards, there's the 2-4 standard in the box up here on the left.
Mhm.
Um, and that addresses, the practices that the solution providers should be conformant to. So there's already certification programs for certifying the solution providers.
Ah, okay.
So that exists. We don't do it yet, but that would be part of that would be a byproduct of building this program.
Mhm.
We started out and focused on the product certification set of standards. And we looked at the solution provider, the 2-4. There didn't seem to be as big of a market at the time,
Mhm.
but it's something that we're going to circle back on. And it'll be a byproduct of this.
Makes sense.
And, the other question is, there are three use cases for doing an assessment like this. One use case is you have let's just talk about a production plant that's in operation in steady state, and you want to see how you stand security wise. So you would use this assessment and provide a standard report, and it would describe, for each of your control systems that you assess, where they stand. What are the target security levels that they actually achieved? What level? And so the other use case is you're doing an upgrade. You want to do an upgrade. And so you bring in a service provider or you do it internally. The asset owner may act as a service provider. And they do the upgrade and they want to confirm that they haven't broken their security target level. And so that's the second case, and which is what you brought up. And then the third use case is either a plant expansion or a greenfield, where you have a brand new automation and control system. And during commissioning, right at commissioning, you want to have an audit and confirm that the new system is meeting the target security levels. And so when it's deployed, you're confident that it's secure to your risk standards. So each of those are going to be have some nuances in how the actual assessment work is executed, because the environment and context slightly different, but still use the same set of standards. There may be some policy differences. So, for example, if it's a greenfield and you're doing an assessment, one of the dimensions of assessment is to look at the training of your personnel operating the system, their continuing education, the upgrades, their patch management processes, and other policies and procedures for, use of engineering workstations, et cetera. And so when you just commission a brand new system, you don't have any history for that. And so there's no way to evaluate it. So that's a big chunk of the assessment. So we would likely do what we would call a provisional certification with the requirement that it expires in 12 months, or there's a follow-on audit to address all the other topics that only an operating environment can demonstrate. And so at the end of the year, you do an audit, and assuming that everything's fine, then you get your full certificate for that system, and then it goes into a different kind of an audit process, like one that may be triggered, a time triggered for policies and procedures, and event triggered if there's like a version upgrade. So, our sales pitch, I'll go ahead and pitch it. We're just asking companies that are interested in supporting this program to just sign on as ISASecure members, and your annual membership dues will contribute towards the budget necessary to develop this program. And so that's how that works. I won't go into detail about the dues, but they're January through December dues. And so, yeah, you sign on, and then there's member benefits. So there's the usual benefit from belonging to a consortium like this. You can publicly demonstrate your leadership and contributions to this important cybersecurity initiative. But you also have a seat at the table. So if you're a consultancy and you have pretty good handle of how these assessments should be done, you can make sure that we're not putting specifications in place that just don't make sense, or you've got some real life experience on it. So you have a seat at that table, and that seat at the table is occupied by asset owners, who have to live with this. And you have the consultancies and certification bodies, and then the tool providers, as I mentioned. We're looking for software providers to take this program and put it into their applications. If you're an asset owner and you wanted to build your own security program, the internal cost to address this, it's going to be a lot. We've done 4 certifications, and I can tell you that it's going to be more than $500,000 to put this together. If you do it right, if you do a sloppy job, you can do it much cheaper, but you're not going to get much value out of it. So in this instance, you'd be better off to work with the 40 other companies who are weighing in, the world's best subject matter experts, hundreds and hundreds of years of subject matter expertise, and have a good specification that you can use as a base for your organization's cybersecurity programs. As a member, you have volume training discounts from ISA. The assessor training for this program is 30% off, and the annual licensing of this specification is going to be free for ISASecure members. So if you're an asset owner with 5, 10, 20, 100 sites, it's going to be free. So that's a huge benefit. But again, in the end, after all said and done, is what we're trying to establish is a norm in the marketplace. And it's going to be a multi-year initiative, a lot of promotion and advocacy and companies getting on board. But we want to establish a standardized assessment program to the 62443 standards, and a standardized output report format. And these things will grow and change over time. But those are the 2 goals for this, and have it adopted and referenced universally around the globe. We think this is the best approach for multi-year cybersecurity plans and budgets, and also, it will establish a credible basis, for insurance negotiations as insurers become aware of and start adopting this as one of their underwriting inputs. So our milestone dates are middle of next year to have the baseline specification completed. Second half of the year, we can work on the certification program definition, policies, procedures, pass-fail requirements, maintenance of certification. and the certification body accreditation requirements. And then in the second half of the year, we'd also develop the assessor training class, 3-day class, with the goal that Q1 2025, this is available for everybody to use. We think once we get the specifications complete in the middle of next year, we might be able to allow companies to use the specifications, but we'll have to think about that one. Just without the training, we're not confident that they'll all be used properly. So we'll see. So that's it. These are links to some our other great programs. So we have a website for the ISASecure product certifications, and this program is up on that website as well. There, some of the program details are there, but this PowerPoint is pretty good on that front. That ISA Global Cybersecurity Alliance website. We've got the blog site too, and tons of free downloads. All the stuff that we're doing there, like almost everything is free. So we put these white papers, blogs, all wrapped around the 62443 standards, how to use them. It's out there. A link to the ISA training to get trained on the standards and cybersecurity practices. And then this ICS for ICS website as well. So we're doing a lot of work, a lot of companies. So between these 3 or 4 consortiums, it's about 150 companies, all pulling and rowing in the same direction to help improve cybersecurity and secure automation that affects our everyday lives. And hopefully we're elevating OT cybersecurity to an engineering discipline. That's our goal. So that's it. That's the program, and I'll stop there and answer any questions that you have.
For anybody who's listening and not watching, the main URL I want to give you is isasecure.org. So if you're just driving in your car listening to the show, that's one you can remember. There's a whole bunch on this last slide, but that's one takeaway you could take with you if you're listening, isasecure.org. And I want to thank Andre for coming on. I'm really glad you guys are doing this, because cybersecurity is really a point in our control systems that needs to be taken seriously. I know most controls and automation engineers do, but a lot of plants don't. So I love what you guys are doing here. And I really just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the Automation Podcast and tell us all about what you're working on.
Yeah, thanks. It's my pleasure. The more I can get the word out, the more places I have to communicate this to the community, the better. So thank you for having me as a guest.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I want to thank Andre for coming on the show and bringing us up to speed on ISASecure. I also want to thank our sponsor, theautomationschool.com, who paid our production costs this week and actually made this episode possible. So if you know anybody looking for PLC, HMI, or SCADA training, please mention theautomationschool.com to them. Now, I also want to ask you, if you have any time in the next few days, please take a moment and visit theautomationblog.com and vote in our Audience Choice Awards. We have a new poll every day from this Friday going through next Friday, except for Christmas. And we want to know, who are your favorite vendors? What are your favorite products? It'll really give us great guidance going into 2024. With that, if you want to follow me or get in touch, you can do so over at automation.locals.com. And with that, I want to wish you all an awesome holiday and holiday week. I won't be back until the first of the year, but I do want to wish you all just a phenomenally happy and joyful week. I hope you all have a great time and everybody's safe and healthy. And I just want to encourage you to remain courageous, remain fearless, and until next time, my friends, peace.